Well, welcome everyone. And I know we're about to go into a long weekend, but we're here to talk about something really important. And we want to think about after talking with my guest today, it made me think, what do all of these things have in common? We're talking law enforcement, first responders, adrenal fatigue. Can anybody relate to that? And also, hey, we're going into the summer and summer wellness. How can you connect all of those, or what is the connection in all of those? We have a very fun conversation coming up today. And I said, hello, Celeste. She is watching. And my guest today, I met her through Jackie Zuckerman, which many of you have heard me probably rave about. She's an incredible social media expert, won all kinds of awards. She's like the top 10 of 10 to watch and, in everything. And she's a branding marketing expert. She's just great. So both Dawn and I know and have worked with or do work with Jackie. And we were introduced to each other. And just in my chatting with Dawn, I was so impressed with what she does, how she does it, who she works with, and how she supports people, that I said to her, you have to come and tell the world about this. I know she already is, but you got to go tell my world about it. So Dawn Reeby, I want to welcome you to the Total Image Woman of the Week today.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here, Ginger, and Jackie, for connecting us. This is really just an honor, and I appreciate being here in this forum. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And so, nobody can say it better than you. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you came to be doing what you do.
Yeah. So we help service-based professionals. So we're talking about, the sworn and civilian in law enforcement, in fire, in EMS, nurses, doctors who are in emergency response, policy development, those folks who really took on a career because they wanted to provide service to the world, right? And they do a great job of it. They're really committed. They're really dedicated. But what they don't do a really good job of is take really good care of themselves. And so what our team does, is really help them to find that work-life integration, to be amazing, excellent, terrific in the operations of their work environments, and then also be amazing, terrific, and wonderful and healthy in their home environments as well. So what brought me here was, I have 22, I think, or 23 years in law enforcement industry as a civilian, going throughout the country, just building capacity among police agencies and among similar kind of agencies, government agencies, to really get their operations flowing very well. So making sure that they're working smarter and not harder, right? Using information to drive decisions. And so going across the country to do that, and actually internationally as well, on the virtual platform, I kept on seeing this repeat theme come up where you have these amazing, kind people who are just not taking care of themselves. They're just not. They have high illness rates, high anxiety, their cortisol levels are jacked up. They have poor home lives. They're fighting with their families. They're not, caring for their bodies, partially because they care so much about that work environment. So we change all that. We change it all. We flip it upside down. We make them a priority, which is really, really unique and wonderful to the industry overall.
I love it. I think I mentioned this to you, but I've been doing what I do for a long time, and I have many times been invited in to hospitals and to conferences particularly for National Nurses Week. That's been a biggie.
Yes.
Talk about how do you take the time to feel good about yourself and how you're presenting yourself, because lots of times I talk to so many nurses and doctors as well who say, I don't have time. I throw on whatever I can throw on. I may not feel great, but I throw a big sweater over it and then I don't have to think about it. Or I put a lab coat. That's a biggie. Yeah. Or scrubs. I put a lab coat or scrubs over everything so then I don't have to think about it. But Do they
Mhm.
then really feel really amazing about how they look? No. They take
Right.
care of everybody else and
Mhm.
they come last. And I'm sure that
Mhm.
you have seen in particular that that can wreak havoc on their lives in many, many different areas.
You're exactly right. So these are the people. I mean, I bet you right now, anyone here who's listening live or listening to the replay, put in the chat your favorite service-based person, right? The fire person that the police officer or police chief, or maybe it's the dispatch worker or the doctor who's, or nurse who's in the ER room of service, the EMS person who's responding to, somebody's heart attack, right? Put in the chat right now your favorite person, like their initials or something, because these people they don't think about themselves first, and they can't to some degree, right? If you're a doctor and there's an emergency that comes into your room, you drop everything. You drop the sandwich, you drop the salad, you drop that walk that you were going to take, right? And so when that happens chronically, that really results in chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, and illnesses. And so there's just not this balance. So yes, it will exist, but what our team really does is strengthens the infrastructure piece, and we work on productivity audits and really ensure that the operations are the most efficient operations as possible. And then once they take a breath and they say, okay, whew, you got all that stuff out of the way. Now I can take a breath. So it's kind of this twofold approach. But if you're not looking at both, you're not going to help that service provider. If you look at any mom, Jinja, and say, care about yourself first, right? And they have a little baby who's crying, they're going to say, what are you talking about? My baby's crying. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's this image piece. It's this self-care piece that sounds foreign and almost, lazy, right? They're not doing their service if they're the mindset is they're not doing service if they are taking care of themselves. And that's 100% wrong.
And I suspect that you've seen an influx of people needing your services over the past year because first responders have been just pulled into the world for support. I mean, they've been on the front lines of everything, and even more probably have dropped the ball when it comes to taking care of themselves.
Exactly. And you see all of these, I mean, in light of the political climate, there's a lot of emergency response folks who are just leaving the environment altogether. So now the people who remain are burdened with the extra time, the forced overtime, and all that comes along with that. And so, when you have this idea in your head that you're going to enjoy life when you retire, like, can you imagine? I'm going to enjoy life when I retire. Then life isn't full of joy. Life isn't full of, self-confidence. It's full of things like imposter syndrome. It's full of things like not, releasing yourself. You talked a little bit about dress and caring for yourself and presenting yourself. That becomes way back in the back, way back in the trunk, right? Because it's just easier not to. It's easier not to sometimes. It's easier to focus on somebody else. And that mentality of focusing on somebody else all the time leads to the divorce rates, high divorce rates, leads to the adrenal fatigue. And I'm evidence. That was completely my world. My world. I mean, I worked as a civilian in law enforcement, a high paid civilian job. So I really had a lot to prove in my mind to the world, as first of all, in a male dominated environment, right? And second, as a civilian in a non-civilian environment, right? And so there was a lot of,
and a woman too.
And a woman, yeah. And, and there was a lot of secrets in my closet that I didn't want to get out. So it was easier for me to hide behind some masks of whatever versus really, help folks understand what was going on in my world, right? So we want to serve, we want to prove, and we hide behind the something. And in the folks that you serve, it could be hiding behind the I don't care about what I look like. But we all know, you when you feel good about yourself, you become a better presenter for others. when you take care of yourself, you become, and you open up the opportunity to really care for other people in a much more significant and organized way, which is really one of the keys.
Do you find that, and I think this kind of thing happens a lot with people in the service professionals who feel that they don't have time or don't know how or it isn't important to think about how they look. But do you find that it's, I just lost my train of thought, that it's something that they feel it's not really of value, and that it's shallow, and that their focus really needs to be, they're not doing their job if they're spending even 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever thinking about those things that are not giving, that are not, thinking about others first? Do you find that happens a lot?
So I think there's a lot of that, Ginger. I think that folks, can say, I don't want people to think that I'm not of value, or, they don't want to be over, indulged, right, in a sense, in their minds.
Yes.
And then there's another whole group of people who it's easier to say I don't care because it's work that really needs to be done on their self-esteem and on their confidence that really is hard to address. And then there's a third set of people who are rolling out of bed at 2 a.m. to go to work, and they legitimately don't have the energy to do anything else.
Yes.
Other than that, right?
So then how do you, because what you're asking people to do is set aside some time to work on themselves and to support themselves. And I know you have a team, and I want you to tell us about your team and what you actually can provide for people. But how do you work with their mindset of, you think I'm going to do some kind of a program or join a group or whatever it is, to focus on myself? I don't even have time to eat my sandwich. How do you convince them that what they need here is what you've got to offer?
Yeah. And so a lot of the personalities are get things done, right? And so, I come from the perspective of we're going to get things done, right? We're going to get this goal done, and you're going to not waste your time, because I don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't want my time wasted, right? So we're going to get right to the point, and we're going to get these goals done. You want to be chief someday? Let's figure out how to get you there. You want to get promoted? Let's figure out how to get you there. You want to run an operations that's efficient and effective and productive. You want to have your team, be loyal to you. Let's get you there. So we really come from a capacity, like a building capacity perspective, right? So to be efficient and effective. And that's really where my background is, writing these certified curriculums for, all different groups on how to get from point A to point B, right? How to organize your time, space, and energy. And so we start there because that's what they think their immediate need is. And to some degree it is. And then, how it typically works, Ginger, is we'll sit in a Zoom, right across from each other, because we serve folks all over the world. And for the very first time, someone is asking them, someone who doesn't know them, someone who they don't have to wear a mask in front of, someone whom they're not serving, asks them, how are you?
Oh,
right? How are you? Like, what's going on in your world right now that you want to be better with? I remember sitting down with a chief, and I said, Chief, I'm getting a vibe from you, right, that things may not be okay. What's going on? And he's like, no one's asked me that. And he's so overwhelmed. He was so stressed. He's like, I got this politician doing this. I got this, doing this. I'm stressed out. I can't even go home to my wife. I'm so, nervous all the time. Work is just, I'm just so stressed. And I felt for him because he has been trained to desensitize from his own feelings, right? He has been in EMS. You cannot look at an injured person and start crying on the job, right? If there's an injured person, you're there to save them. So you have to create this professional distance to some degree. And so what's unique is that we sit down and that barrier is gone. And now all of a sudden they have an opportunity to say, I don't know what I'm feeling. Let me think about that. Let me really think about that. And so what typically they say is, I don't even know if I should be doing this job. I don't think I'm the right one. I'm
Wow.
not good enough for this. Or I'm about to divorce my wife and I don't know how to save our relationship,
Oh,
you know, or I'm so overworked that I sleep, my husband's sleeping and I'm on my bed after work on the lap, in bed on the laptop, just finishing up work with a glass of wine while my daughter is growing 1.5 feet without me knowing.
oh no.
Yeah. And so when they say it out loud, then all of a sudden they start to realize that they don't have to live that life.
That they can't live that,
That
continue
they
for them.
yeah, but the culture in service-based industry is that you work hard, you go, right? So all of a sudden they start to understand that, wait a second, there's another way. And that's what we really focus on is you can have this amazing, excellent, organized, professional career in alignment with a life that brings you fulfillment, joy, happiness, health. And so once that message is laid, sometimes it takes months for the message to sit in, right? To sink in, and then we get to work. And then we get to work, right?
And so tell us a little bit, because I know you don't do this by yourself. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about your team that you have.
Oh my goodness, I have the best team in the world. I don't even know how I was blessed so much. They are amazing. So, a huge shout out to the team. We could do nothing without this team. I started off in private consulting in 2011, and there's only one of me, right? And I had not even imagined what results we could achieve for a larger group of people until the team came together. So, in fact, today's a really special day, Ginger, because I met my team member, Caroline. She's our engagement specialist. I met her in person for the first time, and she's been working for us for 1 year.
Oh,
Yes, yes. So we have Caroline, who's amazing. She helps make sure that everyone knows where their resources are. And she's just wonderful with our social media and engagement. We have Michelle, who's wonderful with the virtual work, newsletters and images and all the things, right? We have Jen Koner, who's one of our coaches, phenomenal. We have Annie Mitchell, who is an industry leader in the law enforcement industry. Typically she works with supervisors, teams of like 80 to 100 or so. So she's great with some of our larger teams to really help them figure out how to work with them specifically. So, we have just an incredible team. And then Rhea Gerstenkorn, she's one of our newest coaches. She's amazing. And the funny part is almost all of these beautiful humans have been through the program themselves. They've seen success themselves. So when they come, they're talking from the heart. They're talking about their own success. They're talking about the transition that they've had and how it worked for them. And they get everyone so excited. It's amazing. I love our team.
see the possibilities when they know that someone else has been in their shoes and has come out the other end. It makes such
Exactly.
a shout out to Catherine, who's watching as well.
Mhm.
And so, okay, if people are listening and either they're thinking, gosh, I really need this myself, or they think, I know like 5 people who could really benefit from this. Like, what are some of the things that you offer? Like, how do people jump into this, either, to dip their toe or to really dive in full speed ahead? Tell us some ways that people can reach out to you. And please, first of all, give everybody your website address. And I will put all of this down in the comment section later too, so people can find you easily. But please tell us that.
Sure. It's Excellence in Analytics, excellenceinanalytics.com. So I see Celeste says performance improvement methodology. That's exactly what it is. What we, on the professional side, we maximize performance. So we identify the gaps in the service performance and get them really working through best practice services. So a lot of times it could be anything from how they train their professionals to how their policies and procedures are organized to, the workload. Is it productive? Right? Is it productive? Are you in the right spot at the right time? And so a lot of it is that performance improvement. We actually call it our productivity audit, where we look at all the things that they're doing and identify gaps in the doing so that we can reduce the stress, tighten up the systems, the information systems, the process systems, all of it. And that really takes the edge off so that we can begin to work on the other side, which is them as a human. As a human, I guess so. Information to let others know about it. So Gladys, thanks for asking. So if if you know someone who is in service-based industry, right, the first thing is to let them know that there's something out there for them. I think a lot of times the service-based folks get nervous because they're like, oh, I don't know corporate, I don't know these other worlds, and I don't want to go to a therapist, although I have gone to therapy. I think it's amazing, but the mentality sometimes is, I don't want to do all this. I'm supposed to work hard. And the first thing to let them know is, no, there is a different way. There is a better way. There's a best practice out there that has been established and has worked for so many social service folks in public sector for years and years and years now. They just don't know about it yet. So we can let them know that they can have both. They can be even better at their jobs and if you tell them, if you're taking care of yourself, they might not like that. They might get turned off. So you can, what I usually do focus on is that performance metrics, really.
Yes.
And so, really depending on where someone is in their own growth path, generally, there's a couple of kind of ways that they can get involved, right? And so what we do is coaching. So that's the number one thing that we do, and we do it in a variety of ways. Sometimes it is extremely personal and someone just wants a coach. They don't want any of the group work. They don't want any, Tuesday night, togetherness, right? That's not in their wheelhouse. They really just want someone to say, here's my issue. Here's my wellness. We talk about the wellness piece of their lives. What do they want? What do they want their life to really look like, right? And then get them there, and then engineer that environment so that they can get there. So we do offer one-on-one coaching. In fact, this summer we're doing starting the registration actually closes June 4th. So we're doing summer wellness reset, which is a 3-month, right? So June, July, and August. We work one-on-one June, July, and August, twice a month for about 45 minutes each session. And we dive into specific health wellness goals, right? And get them on a path to succeed. And every single person who's ever taken any one of our programs has seen success. They all write testimonials, which is amazing, amazing. And 90% of them join back in because once they had a taste of it, they don't want to go.
I will make sure that there's a link for that.
Awesome.
In the comments as well. And I want to say that Gladys is my mom. So thank you, Mom, for watching. And Celeste is asking questions I don't even know to ask. Like, how do you interface with the organization performance improvement program? I have no clue what that even means.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I do. I know what that means. So we're good. We're good. And so, Celeste, one of the things is there's not always improvement planning for public sector, right? So we implement it if it's not existent. And if it is already existing, if they have some performance measures in place, then we refine them and we focus on the impact. Because what I found in reading a lot of these performance improvement strategies or matrices is that they're focused on numbers that do not reflect key performance indicators, right? They do not reflect the desired impact. And so what we do is we actually share that we want to focus our energy on impact and not activity. And here's an example. So, I worked with a police agency and they wanted to reduce crime, right? So they measured in a particular area. So they wanted to reduce crime in a particular area. And so they measured the amount of motor vehicle stops in that area. And I said, that could be one of your indicators, but that's not the indicator, right? Because who cares if someone got pulled over? Like, what does that really matter? What we want to know is from those motor vehicle stops, how many people, were informed, right? How many people stopped speeding? How many people became safe? How many big bad boys and girls did we get off the street as a result of those motor vehicle stops? How many business owners feel safer now that, traffic has slowed down in the area? So I find a lot with police and even with fire too, EMS the same, that their indicators are off. Their indicators are measuring their their activities and not the impact that they desire as a result of those activities. So that's the first place we start, measuring impact. And that really alleviates a lot of the stress that goes around all of these numbers that they think they have to produce. So Celeste, let me know if that answered or was close to what you were asking. Okay.
Oh, goodness. Wow. Wow. I mean, what you do, it's phenomenal. And you're really, okay, so now she's asking she's saying root cause, which seems to be what you're saying is the root cause of all of these.
Well, I don't know if we'll ever know the root cause. I mean, if you have an EMS guy who's going to someone who overdosed on heroin, I don't know that the EMS has to really know the root cause of it, right? But they do have to work in a proactive way and identify, those locations that are repeat, those people who are repeat, and that kind of thing. And so, I don't know that we ever really have the time to fully understand the root cause when we're responding to emergencies, but taking that proactive approach does give us better ability to make the strategies much more impactful and much more effective. So I personally am interested in all the root causes. My background comes from I'm in analytics, and so I like to study patterns and patterns of activity. So
yeah.
Hopefully, Celeste, that was a little in alignment with what you had imagined the answer to be.
Certainly, you bring a fresh perspective to, these are people who have been doing what they've been doing for a long time in a specific way.
That's exactly right.
You can bring in a fresh perspective and give them food for thought that maybe hadn't occurred to them before. So I think what you do, and clearly you're passionate about what you do, and clearly you're very, very knowledgeable. So
thank you. And so it starts out with creating those efficiency systems. And then we get to talking about some of the wellness stuff. And they really start, in that environment, it's hard to trust, right? Doctors, they don't trust just a schmo, right? And so you come into these environments. I worked with about 7 or 8 doctor heads of units, right? So the head of neurology, the head of surgery, and we're all in a room together virtually to do leadership and productivity among the high level folks. And I walked in thinking I was having a productivity conversation, and I walked out helping them with all of the wellness challenges that they were facing as high leaders in their particular industries. They had to be the strong ones. Like, who else is there? They're the heads of the heads, right?
Yes. And nobody to talk to, because there's nobody, above them. They're not reporting to anybody. So
exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So we do the one-on-one coaching, and then we also have a community of folks. And so a lot of times, these kind of industries, they do like to be around other people, particularly the leaders, right? The mid-level supervisors and above. They like to be around other people who are elevating them, right? And so we do have a leadership program where it combines that one-on-one coaching along with that group piece where they can kind of bring, it's like a little mastermind, right? They can bring challenges that they're experiencing, maybe with building their teams or building their own confidence, whatever it might be, to that particular group and get a flow of ideas. And so it's kind of like, it's kind of like that book, Think and Grow Rich, right? Or where, you have this crew of people in your mind or not who's elevating you. So we do have the one-on-one coaching, and then we do have that one-on-one with the group coaching as well, which is a ton of fun. And we build in the wellness piece. We have a ton of fun with the wellness piece. We actually make it super easy for them to be experiencing wellness opportunities. So, once a month, we have a guest speaker come in and share with our team a different way to be well. For instance, we had Chef Lauren come in and share plant-based food prep, right? To really help people kind of refocus and think about, well, how can I, in a simple way, take care of myself? Of course, Ginger, you're coming and sharing your beautiful wealth of knowledge to our team and talking about the importance of caring for ourselves in that color and, way we present ourselves in our clothing kind of way, which is what attracted me to you in the first place, because I saw your catwalk and I was like, oh my God, I love her. Yeah.
funny. I appreciate it. And so, and then you have the Wellness Reset program, the Summer Wellness Reset, and you also have, I think, a Facebook group, right? So if people want to, like, I just need to kind of touch base here, get a feel for this, they can go into your community Facebook group. Is that right?
Yes, yes, we have a community Facebook group. It's called Tribe of Excellence.
Mm.
And thanks, Celeste. Yeah, combining that wellness and productivity is key. In the reason is because when you are well,
Yeah.
when you hold leadership of self as a priority, like when you hold leadership of self as a priority, you become more productive because you become more focused. Your boundaries are more clear. You feel better about yourself. So leadership of self is the key component. I mean, we have a 4-pillar system that's amazing. And leadership of self is the umbrella, right? When you take care of yourself, that's how you become a high performer. Well, that's one of the ways, right? But it has to be there. You cannot, know high performance strategies and not take care of yourself and be a high performer. You have
Don't
to
have the
really.
energy. Bottom line, forget it. If you don't feel well, you're
Mhm,
just trying to manufacture energy instead of just having it be natural. So I think
exactly.
it has to be a foundational component of the rest of the growth that you're helping people with.
Exactly. So we bring lots of opportunities for our folks to be exposed to different wellness. And so sometimes they'll get these little blue envelopes in the mail. Usually once a month, they'll get the little blue envelope, and they know that it's just a little reminder to open that up and find a wellness opportunity. And it could be anything. We try to expose people to multiple wellness options so that they can find what works well for them, what's simple and what makes them feel good. And the energy that folks have received from these wellness events, we have wellness every week, but we have a wellness event once a month. And so the energy, I had a client who would come, not come, and she's like, nah, I don't know if I'm good enough to be there because everyone's so well and I'm not, and And so, she's like, I eat M&Ms and chips all afternoon. Like, am I really well? Do I really belong here? And I said, of course you do. You are exactly where you should be. And so she started coming, and and she was like, wow, you guys all have these great success stories. My success story is I survived cancer.
Wow.
And we're like, that's a big success.
Yeah.
So from that moment of exposure and vulnerability, she finally got to open up. Now she comes every Wednesday. And now we have our one-on-one calls, and and she's just like, I did the thing, Dawn. I took care of myself. I did the thing. And I was more productive in my career. Like, what? Why is it? And so, and then she says to me, and my son, noticed that I took an Epsom salt bath, and he said, Mom, you're smiling more, you're doing the thing more. And she felt that she could give that gift to her son of example, finally.
Yeah.
So just beautiful, beautiful success stories. I just love the work we do, love the people we do it with.
Part of what you just said is so important is that then they model for other family members, particularly younger family members, also for staff members that they may be managing.
Exactly.
How to, be an effective and healthy and
Yes.
ambitious leader.
Yes.
So you're not just, you just push through. This is like, how do you do it in a way that's sustainable? And that's what you teach people.
Exactly. And as these leaders, I've worked with leaders who say to me, Dawn, I want to retire, but nobody wants my job. And I said, nobody wants your job because you've made it miserable, right? Like, you've made it miserable. What if you turned that around and everybody wanted your job? When you present yourself as a stress ball, at work, when you're spinning all the time and you're like, I'm so busy, and like, who would want that, right?
Yeah.
Instead, shifting the mindset to really setting the priorities, using the key pillars, right? Setting the priorities and being able to smile and find joy. For those of you, I know Celeste is looking for what the key, the concept of the pillars are. So it is leadership of self, right? Really getting to know yourself super well, knowing the things that you love to do. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we we just don't know outside of work what we love to do, right? So getting to know yourself, being a leader of self, high performance teams. How do we build our high performance teams on a consistent and regular basis, right? And so that applies to families too. Our families can be high performance families. Systems is another one of the key pillars where we're constantly looking at, at our systems to ensure that they're efficiently and effectively operating. And then the core characteristics, like what do you want your life to really look like, and what are you willing to do to get there? So often I'll speak with someone and I'll say, what do you want your life to look like? Like, what do you want your relationship with your wife to feel like? Like, what do you want to be doing with your kids? And they turn internally and they're just like, I'm so stressed out. Can't even think about that. I'm like, all right. So what can your work life look like? What would make it easier for you? Money, we need money. And we go through all like the excuses and everything else, right? And then we get to that core. We get to the core, of how this person can live a more abundant lifestyle and can love the life they live. I'll give you a beautiful example, Ginger. There was this client, and I said to her, so what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? And she says, I don't really have any. I like life. I'm happy. I said, all right, well, what if there was something that you really did? Have you ever thought about anything that you want? And she's like, no, I can't really talk about it. And I said, so what is the thing? Just let's spit it out there. So she eventually said that she had always wanted to buy a house, right? She had always wanted to buy a house, but she didn't make enough money to do so. And she was, in dispatch. She's like, I really, like, maybe like 40, 50 grand a year. It was not like an extraordinary amount. And she's like, who's going to set, like, how can I buy a house by myself? And the way that you can do that, I told her the way that you can do that is decide, right? You can simply decide that that's what you're going to do. And then we can engineer your environment to get there. So this person, this human, this beautiful person who started off, by the way, with productivity. We revamped her systems, got to know her, and then got her to have some goals. We really dove in and we said, what does this house look like? And she's describing the backyard as, a ton of grass, but it has to be fenced in because she has the dogs and she loves her deck, all these things that she wanted. She started envisioning it to the detail, down to the detail. And I will say, after she did that, after we really nailed that down, within 3 months, she bought a house.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
Yep. She bought a house, and she had set up a couple of other goals. She wanted to become debt free. I think it was like 5 years or something. And she did it in 6 months.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah. And it was wild. And so she looks at me and she's like,
house. Oh my goodness.
and she looks at me and she's like, I should have asked for bigger things. This is crazy.
That's really funny. Well, that can come too. They can get bigger and better.
So once you turn people on to the idea that they can achieve if they have help, envisioning, thinking about it, really living out of scarcity and in this place of abundance, the things in life come true for you if you allow them to, if you work at them, if you engineer them, if you dream them. So, yeah. So that's that story. It was a great story. She's wonderful.
Oh my goodness. But I mean, what you do is so powerful. And obviously you're totally passionate about it, which I love. And that makes all the difference in the world. And clearly you enjoy the people that you're working with, and they're having fabulous results. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of different ways that people can work with you. So what I'm really going to encourage people watching either live or the replay is think about people who could benefit from this, everywhere from the free Facebook group to the summer wellness, who doesn't want wellness, all summer, to, even coaching one-on-one. Who do you know who could benefit from this? And pass along, I'm going to put all the links in the comments, pass along Dawn's information. And as you can see, Dawn is a lovely person. So
thank you.
She's not going to be pushing anybody into doing something they don't want to do, but she has an incredibly valuable service to offer and support to offer. So Dawn, I want to thank you so much for being here today and sharing what you do. It's so powerful. You're obviously incredibly passionate and incredibly good at what you do. So thank you so much for being here today.
Ginger, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me. I can't wait for you to work with our team. I love the work that you do too. And and for you and for the other folks out here, these theories don't just apply to social service folks. Take this as an opportunity. You landed here in Ginger's training for one reason or another, and you're here now, right? And so, it's okay for you to enjoy your life too, and to live your life by design. And so if you find that you are a crazy workaholic like I was once upon a time and sometimes still am, it's okay to take a step back and recognize that recovery is the key component to productivity and success.
Yes.
So I want to thank you so much, Ginger, for having me here today.
Thank you, Dawn. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening and asking questions and all of that. And I hope you all have a lovely, relaxing, healthy, safe, I know it's going to rain around here, but just a joyful, long weekend, holiday weekend. And thank you. This is the perfect weekend for us to have been talking with you, because what we're we're coming into Memorial Day. We're talking about people who have, given their lives or devoted their lives to protection and service of our country. And so perfect timing for you to be on here today. And
thank you,
everyone, for being here. And I'll be back again next week. I will be here at a different time. I have Iris from the Netherlands coming in to talk about something really cool, and it would be midnight or something if we did it at the usual time. So she will be here. We will be here at 2:00 Eastern time next week for Iris as our Total Image Woman of the Week. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend.
Thank you.